There are only two ways that you can build a business and your life. And the most popular way that we have been taught to build a business or our lives is to work really hard. And if we do that for long enough, and if we maybe even outwork everybody else, we will be able to sustain and get a successful business and a successful life. But I want to stand here before you and be strong evidence today that not only is that not the only way, but that is actually the lesser of two ways that we can choose to build our businesses and build our lives. And I want to invite you into a much better way today. And the only way that I can really describe it to you is that it is the way of rest. And I learned this principle after I basically kind of burned my life down and I got really sick from working too hard. I pretty much destroyed relationships. I mean, it was pretty bad, but I'm like, this is the only way that I'm going to be able to have success is if I work as much as I can and build my business and build my boutique. But I was really surprised to find out that actually cutting way back my hours all the way down to only a 2-day work week was going to be a catalyst for me to change into the life that I really desired in here. Not only did it give me the lifestyle that I wanted, but it also paid me way more money. And I'm really passionate about talking about this because I have seen so many people's their dreams just die because they don't understand that there is a way. Let's just call it the way of rest. And this way houses our dreams, okay? When I was running my boutique, I would sort of find people, this is just like sort of a natural human thing that we do. I would find people that had a life that I wanted. And I was like, on the outside, on the exterior, it looked like they were really doing well because their social media pages were gigantic. They were making a lot of money. They were maybe working on their like second or third home. And they were in magazines, you know, all of that local things. It's like stardom basically in these small towns. And what I realized after I met several of these business owners is that they were not doing well in here. And I'm like, well, that's not really what I want either. I don't want to sacrifice like my inner peace or my marriage or whatever to have my business, but it's sort of presented to us as regular Americans that that's the only way that you can really have a successful business. And it wasn't until I chose to see differently and to think differently that I was able to really implement this dream that I had for a 2-day work week, which by the way, the dream became super real to me as I was holding my second born son in my arms. And I'm like, I cannot work as much as I have been. I already did that. I opened my boutique the very I think it was the week after my firstborn son was born. And so all I ever knew was to have a baby in my arms and run my business. And so you can do it that way if you want to. However, if you choose to think a little bit differently, if you choose to believe a little bit differently, all of these options suddenly become available to you. And the one that I deployed in my life was the 2-day work week. And to be honest with you, it took me a long time to implement this, not because it was like really hard to do, but because my support belief system in here couldn't support the reality that I wanted. So I had to change in here. And how we change in here to accept that we can have more money on less work, I think there's an element of practicing to it, but the real catalyst came for me when I was willing to let go of all of my previous notions of what I thought work was and why I work. Okay, like for example, you grow up in a regular middle-class home and all you know is that in order to have money, in order to have the life that you want, both parents in most cases go to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes they do overnight shifts. Sometimes they work weekends. Depending on what your mom and dad do. And so your brain just really gets this idea that if I want to have success, I'm going to have to work 9 to 5. And if I want more success than my parents had, I'm going to need to work more hours. That's the natural presumption that any human being would make based on if we use the evidence that we see in front of our eyes. But I want to tell you about a principle that supersedes all of the evidence and all of the experience that you have had up until this point. It's a principle that gave me peace in my heart, that doubled my income, that cut my work hours in half. And I want you to know about it now, so you don't have to struggle for the years that I struggled. And here's what the principle is. I have within me all of the capability that I will ever need to access whatever I want in my life. All I have to do is believe that it's mine and it becomes my reality. I know that sounds a little bit fluffy, okay? However, it's the truth. And it's the simple reality of what I believe will happen in my life is exactly what will happen. And my actions are going to be based on what I believe. You know how the coaches, they tell you to look in the mirror and like do these affirmations, but people really struggle to do that because they one of my friends, for example, he's like a real estate investor, and one of the things that he wants to become, right? This is kind of the regular mindset that we all have. We want to become like a millionaire, or we want to become a real estate investor, okay? But I'm telling you, what has to happen in our brains in order for the life that we want to be created is that we have to believe that that's who we are, okay? So the practice is to look in the mirror and tell yourself, like, choose one of the things that you really want to have happen. For me, it was, I want to work 2 days a week. And so I recited literally over and over and over again the 2-day work week. The 2-day work week, because that was the level of faith that I had. And guess what was created for me in my life? A 2-day work week. I have that now. That has manifested itself in my life now. Let me tell you another key to this. If I also connect my faith to my Creator who formed me, because He is the source of all life, I can take this a step further and say, this is not just up to me. I'm going to do what I need to do to receive this into my life, but ultimately every good and perfect gift comes from above, and I am just the receiving vessel, I guess you could say. It's like your kid, okay? They want to have, I'm just going to really simplify this. They want to have dinner, okay? They're hungry. They would like to have dinner. They're like, Mom, I'm hungry. Guess what you do? You walk your booty to the kitchen and you make that kid food, as any mother would do. So it's the same for us. We are in the same paradigm as a child who is just saying to his mother, hey, Mom, I'm hungry. And you're like, no problem. I got you. I'm going to make you food. Okay. We live in the same reality as a child who is hungry. I can ask my Creator, hey, you know what? I want to have a 2-day work week. And the reality is, even though I am the person who has to receive this reality, it's actually a gift that is given to me by a good Father who loves me and wants me to have awesome things in my life. If I can take those two concepts and tie them together, I become like, I don't want to use the word unstoppable because there are things that can stop me, but I want to paint this picture for you of anything becoming possible for us in our lives if we can believe that not only is it already ours, it's also an inevitable reality for me, if I put my hand to it, but also if I trust God to give it to me, okay? Because most of the work is what He does. And then learning what my part is in that reality, that's my job. It's not more complicated than that. It is simply a matter of believing and receiving. Because once I believe that the 2-day work week is mine, and that's just what's going to happen in my life, and that's what I'm going to create, and that's what I was born to do, guess what? My actions are going to line up with that, not because I tightened and put pressure on myself to do that thing, but because I'm just convinced. I just know, hey, guess what? 2-day work week, it's mine. So my actions begin to line up, and pretty soon I'm in a reality where I work 2 days a week and I get paid more money than I ever did working 6 or 7 days a week. Hey, I want to invite you to go sign up for the One Principle right now so that you can tie your own belief to the thing that it is that you're wanting in your life. This will really help you to not only gain clarity, but also to understand the true reality that we're living in is that we get what we believe for in our lives every single time. So if I want something different in my life, guess what I have to do? I have to believe differently. That's what I want to teach you how to do in the One Principle. Okay, so that paradigm shift is what enables us to begin to go, you know what? My dream is not only a possibility, it's an inevitable reality that I can have and that I will have, okay? It's a very different mindset than I have to put my hand to this. I have to squeeze myself really hard and discipline this out until my reality is such that I can rest and I can have peace, because that's why we even want the money in the first place. That's why we even want the success in the first place, because we feel like it's going to give us relief from this thing that we feel inside of us, which, by the way, I know this is kind of deep for the first teaching you've ever seen from me, but that unrest that we feel in here, money won't relieve that pressure. Success won't relieve that pressure. The pressure needs to be relieved first, and then the money flows. Then the success is given. That's it. We believe, and then we receive.